Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your hosts Gilbert Ornelas and elk hunting coach Joe Gilly. You want to hunt elk? They live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Elk Camp 2022, y'all. It's been absolutely wild up here in the mountains in New Mexico. As you can see here, I'm with the band of characters. We've got the legend R.C. Knox in the house. We got Cody Kirkpatrick with us, our Elk Bros 2022 recipient of the hunt, who won to come in here and invade the Elk Bros camp and be one with the Elk Bros. We've talked about doing this, Joe, for many years. We got the Ninja, Mr. Leroy Chavez in the house, and WWJGD sitting right here, my main man. We got the Venezuelan Mafia in the house, Mr. Luis Gonzalez, and Manano Graterons in the house. We got everybody in here. We got a new addition to the team. Come on in here, Mr. Victor Sylvia. Come on in here, a.k.a. Vitoko, and one of the baddest cooks on the planet.
Bend down a little bit here. Bend down a little bit.
This guy's been cooking for us all week. He's been putting up with our bull crap, and he's been one of the best guys to have here in camp. We can't thank him enough. It's been truly special. He's one of the Mafia's homeboys that they brought in, and I'm telling you what, everything he's done has been super cool. Am I not lying, guys?
No.
He's a national champion, though.
Yeah, he's a world champion shooter with shotgun, sporting clays, skeet. I mean, the guy's an avid outdoorsman, a heck of a musician, sings, plays the guitar. I mean, the guy's been an epic individual to have in camp. We can't thank you enough, my brother.
Maybe at the end of the podcast, we should close out with music from
Victor.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Victor, get your guitar, get ready, baby.
Al final del podcast vas a improvisar con el cuatro.
Sí.
Okay.
Por favor.
Será con música tuya.
Cualquier
It's,
cosa.
Seguro.
You guys, this is as organic as it gets. Y'all been with us on several rides here in elk camp, and I'm telling you, this has not been short of any wild things going on. I've had a time getting up here. My truck's in the shop. I kind of blew up the radiator and everything else. So we've had some challenges getting up here and getting started, but I roll with the greatest team in the world. The legend R.C. Knox stepped up, helped me. Joe, everybody has filled in and helped me feel comfortable without all of my gear. That truck's a big part of it. But we got it all up here on the mountain and got everything started off, guys. Got to meet some incredible people, Mr. Cody Kirkpatrick and his father, Kevin. Shout out to Mr. Kirkpatrick, couldn't be with us. He's back in the elk woods, knocking it out day by day.
He's up in Colorado.
Yeah, y'all's home place up in Colorado. He's out there, doing his thing. It was so fun to have him in camp. He's a unbelievable gentleman.
Yeah.
Tells stories like you wouldn't believe. I generally can tell a pretty good story, but I got lots to learn from guys like that. So, he's a fantastic father, a fantastic outdoorsman. So it's been great having these guys in camp.
He's the only guy I know has ever called an elk in with a ratchet.
Yeah, we'll get to that for sure. He's made the impossible possible. That's for sure when you done something like that. I get to hunt with all of these guys, so I'm very privileged. But one of the things that I really wanted to say to each and every one of them is I value each and every one of your friendships. Yep. And being here on this mountain, whether we kill 10 out of 10 bulls or whatever it is, we're going to have fun doing it. And we've had an exceptional time this time. It's so cool to see the Ninja back in the woods every day, hunting, doing his thing. And, thanks to all the guys that helped make that happen. Oh, for sure. Chav's back in the woods. I watched him do about a 2-mile hike, in and out almost every day. and he just killed it. So from where he was in 2019 to where we are today, 2020, I mean,
Day and night.
it's daylight and dark, and we praise God. Thanks everybody for all their prayers, and there's a couple people that we want to talk about.
We've had people all week texting us all the time.
Yeah.
Mike Bozarth, he scores, takes
Shane
a cow out
Rasmussen.
there.
Yeah.
Shane Rasmussen takes
yeah.
a beautiful bull over
Congrats,
there.
Shane.
Our own guys, man, our coaches, Eric.
Aragon.
Him
Yeah,
and
he
his
got it
guy,
done.
man, they score big.
The Flatlander Cole Wilkes gets it
Flatlander
done
gets it
in
done.
Idaho. Him and Joel, I mean, unbelievable. Kills a
Travis.
6x6. Yeah, Travis O'Shea getting it done up there in Canada.
Travis is just, we kind of do that when we're callers. We play a caller role, and
Yeah.
you end up trying to get other people. And that's what Travis has been doing. He's not shooting, he's calling, and I think they've taken 2 or 3 already.
Yeah.
So they're doing big out there, and we're getting all kinds of emails and different things from different people. But the guy that you're talking about, somebody that has touched our heart that
Charles
we got
Presley.
an email is Charles Presley, and Charles is. Him and his family have gone through it. Their daughter Abigail went through a lot of operations from birth, man. And
yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that, it's so funny. I mean, it puts things in perspective. I mean, we have a lot of things. Chav helped put things in perspective for
Absolutely.
us. Each one of us has found things in our lives that put things in perspective. And, Charles was somebody followed us and was excited about getting the Elkwoods, had a new daughter coming into the world, and life got put on hold.
That's right. That's right.
But Abigail is
Killing it.
she's doing awesome.
Fantastic.
It's awesome to see that family. Charles is out in the woods now, man. So that's
It's awesome to see how the good Lord's working in their lives after all the prayers and everything. So shout out to Mr. Presley and Abigail. Y'all keep killing it. Keep grinding. It's been wild up here, fellas. I mean, we'll just dive right in as we got started from day one. And man, it's a new unit that we're hunting, Joe.
Yeah.
Super new. You and RC put boots on the ground when doing as much scouting as you could, and then once we really dove into the intricacies of the unit, it got real quick, didn't it, Joe?
Yeah. So, I mean, all of us. I mean, every one of the group and every one of the guys. You don't need to hear it from me. What was the biggest deal for you guys? The biggest shakeup?
Blowdowns. That's a new thing for me. I think it's a phenomenal that didn't know before. So I got to learn.
In the winter here, they had a winter storm. There were microbursts that come through here that and microbursts have been tracked at over 300 plus miles an hour winds. So it came through here in biblical proportions.
Yes.
I mean,
they call it Widowmakers.
Widowmakers, yeah. And we've got several pictures that I'm sure Joe will edit into this podcast and just show the devastation on the sides of these ridges that made it so difficult for us to navigate and understand the road systems and stuff like that.
And the difference between fall down and
blow down and deadfall.
So when everybody talks about deadfall, we all know what deadfall is, and everybody's used to stepping over deadfall. But it's so funny when we came out and we did our scouting. We were checking the road systems, checking where we would be jumping off from. You do your e-scouting, checking where certain trails are and where certain places, and starting to get the camp set up. But we never really got up into some of these sites. We went into some places and they were fine, but man, I tell you what. So blowdowns, when you were talking about that epic thing happening, I think it was 3 days of that event, wasn't it, RC? Because you had to deal with that, right? Yeah. And I mean, it tore up power lines, it did everything, but
y'all were without power for how long, RC?
A month.
1 month without power, and it's serious down here when it's in 20 degrees below zero and stuff. I mean, you better have a lot of wood cut.
Yeah. So it was all western, southern, and top plateaus that caught wind.
Mostly,
right?
Because there were some other faces that were,
Got
probably
hammered
northeast that also got hammered too.
It just bended it through the canyons and stuff, but It is so epic. I can't wait for Joe to send up the photos that we took. So y'all will see it.
Take a look at this picture right here, and this will give you an idea. And here here's the picture. Now, I want you to check out this video. This is a video of the Mafia trying to navigate and climb over, right? And so we're talking about trees. It look like pixie sticks, but these are completely mature,
massive trees.
Massive trees that just blown on top of each other and created 5, 6, 7, 8 foot walls.
Yeah, and at some point we were actually walking on logs that were, 4, 5, even 6 foot off the ground.
Yeah.
And it just becomes so dangerous because it's crazy how it, you're walking through the woods, you have no blowdowns, and all of a sudden you see some trees and you're like, well, it's probably clear on the other side, and then you get into it, and then it keeps sucking you in, and then you realize you're in the middle of these blowdowns, and it becomes dangerous because these trees break, the branches break. What you think is stiff, it isn't, and if it parts, then you can
because these aren't dead trees. These are
live trees.
They were live trees. So they have complete foliage on them, all their branches, except for what's broken through the fall, right?
420 yards took us an hour and a half. An hour and a half.
Yeah.
400 yards. Hour and a half, Joe.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, some slopes, the whole
uphill.
All the trees are down.
Our legs show the results of it too. We're all beat up and scarred and nicked and bloody, and I mean we've all been through it. From day one, we knew it was going to take boots on the ground. Divide and conquer. And this group is, I'm telling you, you cannot keep this group out of them when they get their nose to the grindstone and start grinding.
Well, the problem though is not only was it difficult for us, but it was so difficult for the elk that a lot of the elk moved out of the area.
Right.
We're right next to another unit that is it's a once in a lifetime elk hunting unit, and a lot of the elk migrated there, went down lower, went to other places. Now, are there still elk in here? Well, we've managed to have encounters.
Yeah.
We've managed to do that, which, man, I tell you, when you're working that hard, when you are having to climb over stuff, when you get stuck in things, it becomes frustrating. It becomes disheartening.
Defeating.
It becomes brutal at times. So our issue, Cody, day one. So Cody and Kevin and I had first ups with Cody and his dad, and we had a plan. We had a plan of where we wanted to go, where we wanted to be, and that was just it. We had plans A, B, C, D. And y'all, we ended up going to like MNO.
LOP.
And really trying to work. Here's a photo. Check out this photo. How do you find elk in New Mexico when you're struggling? Here's a picture of my Venezuelan pointer and finding elk for me. So I want you to see this picture. Got a great picture of Manano up on the mountain, man, pointing out where elk are. Yeah, it was a great one. But our issue was really, it was compounded in that we had a lot of animals that moved out. We're trying to figure out now how the animals are moving differently, and we're getting rained on.
Look here.
As always, this is a real deal.
Yeah.
Rain. We got rain,
man.
I know one of the guys coined this hunt as the one more step hunt, and I think they'll explain to you what they meant by that.
I gotta say something before the Mafia gets started. I got an opportunity to hunt with these two cats, and I've known Luis since he started elk hunting and started calling, and I got to hunt with him the other day, and this guy has gotten so good, man. His calling techniques, the way he sets things up, he pretty much ran our hunt when they let me come hunting with them, drag my butt up and down the mountain. But this guy's gotten so good, so I'll let him tell you exactly what went on with their one step close to being heroes, right?
Yeah. I gotta say publicly, but I gotta reinforce that what you said.
What my statement was.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say
it's painful. It's
I'll always be your leader, brother.
Hey, leaders step up, and this cat really has, man. So, for real.
No, I'll tell you what. We always joke back and forth about the leader, but it's. I told Manano this trip too that I was pretty impressed. So nobody really knows this, but Manano got here with a bad cold. And he was pretty sick the first 3 days, and we had to go through some really tough terrains, and the altitude hits you really fast for us flatlanders. And man, he especially on day 2, and we'll talk about it. I mean, the hike that we had to go through, it was tough, and Manano hadn't been able to be like working out as much because he's been preparing for his test and all.
Manano doesn't work out, dude.
Yeah, I think that hike was intentional, Joe.
But I mean, I told him, I said, dude, I admire your willpower and your ability to just work through the challenges of these hunts, because I don't know that I would have been able to do it while sick like that.
We got him some drugs though. He bowed. Listen, I'm serious.
Medicine.
Medicine. We got him some medicine.
That's better.
Big O carries the international drug kit with him when he travels. I mean,
you got the cure.
I'm susceptible to getting upper respiratory infections, stuff like that. So when
he's allergic to everything.
Yeah, I am. My shadow, I'm allergic to. So when he came to us and said he was not feeling well, and this is big for him because this guy's he's a private person, and he's very prideful, and he don't want to slow the group down. So it was very humbling for him to even say that, hey man, I might need a little help, and so we got him some medicine, and he's been on the mend ever since. And
thank you, Beto.
They're a force to be reckoned with.
He worked through it. And the very first day, talking about the one-step hunt, we decided to go up this ridge that we kind of found attractive on the map, and so we parked our four-wheeler down and we started working our way up. And it was pretty steep. So day 1, we were like, "Whoo, wake up call, man! We're back at it. This is." So we work our way up there. We're seeing some sign, and we're just kind of walking around and slowly calling and just exploring the terrain. And just when we got to the top, we always remember what Joe says. I mean, you do it like the animals do it. You're tired, you stop, you rest. You're sleepy, you take a nap. You're hungry, you stop and eat. And so we got to the top, and we were a little tired. And
we got breakfast.
Yeah, we sat down and had some breakfast at the very, top of this little ridge.
Right, and then you started changing the.
Yeah, I had different diaphragms that I wanted to try that. And so I was using the grinder, and I was trying the sugar, and I just kind of wanted to feel the differences between the diaphragms. And I'm messing with it, and all of a sudden Manano turns around and tells me, "Did you hear that?" I said, "No." Manano, as usual, has really keen ears and eyes in the woods, right? So I said, "No, I didn't." He's like, "That was a bark. Keep calling." So I kept on calling, and sure enough, man, this bull bugled. Right, and we're like, oh my God, we're on right off the bat.
But he cow calls as well.
Yeah, he was cow calling too.
Yeah, he mewed.
Bull mewed.
Several times actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's so many people, man, that think that when they hear a mew, it's just a cow.
It's not.
And it's not, especially early season like this, man. And even when you get in tight, when they're around their cows, they'll mew as well. Yeah,
but he made it sound like the word several. Mm-hmm. Like several times in different pitch. Mm-hmm. So he got me. I thought, okay, we got like at least a bull with
a few more coming.
Few more or several cows or something. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and by the way, it was a beautiful country.
It was a beautiful
There's an inside joke about that. But anyhow, so Manano, immediately, I mean, the wind was right. This bull was coming from the side skirt of that top where we were at.
Yeah,
it's
it was
like a little saddle.
Saddle, aspen tree, and
So Manano dives down and gets into the thick brush, and I kind of stayed back. It was a little open on the top, but I covered myself with one of the roots of them blowdowns, one of the trees, and I continue to call. And I hear crashing and stuff like that. Manano's saying you saw him coming.
yeah, he was coming, like jumping logs, like really, he was coming, like straight up.
Yeah.
And then I got him like 40, 50 yards, and then he went behind a pine tree, and I saw him like do like this, and then like pretty he was alert, just because Luis was like he got the skyline, so all of a sudden I heard something breaking behind. I wasn't sure he was breaking the tree or something, but the bull kept watching Luis, and he was like boom.
Yeah,
and I had like a little window, was 40 something, within 40 yards, but I didn't have any opportunity to
it was thick.
take a shot.
So, and my mistake there was, as I was calling, I heard it coming, and all of a sudden, it got to a point where Manano moved forward, and I couldn't see Manano, and then I couldn't hear the bull. So I'm like, well, two things, right? I want to be able to see one of the two, and I want to be able to see if I can actually film, the thing here. But in my mind, I was like, well, if I can't see the bull or Manano, they can't for sure see me, and I could position myself closer to the edge of the brush.
So you tried to make a move.
So I tried to make a move while I was calling.
Yeah.
And then obviously I hear the bull spook. There's a short video of where you can see it kind of running away. Then I try to call him back. But it was too late.
That's a good point though that you bring up, because we're always talking about people being aggressive and moving in on elk. But I think it's important to note that what we're talking about a shooter, because as a caller, when you're calling, you're being pegged.
Yeah, you move in the pinpoint.
Right.
Yeah, that elk is pinpointing you.
He knows exactly where you're at.
Yeah.
Joe, I want to add. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Unless you have cover terrain that's giving you the advantage to be able to still move, right? Yeah. But you're up on the skyline, you're up on the top of the ridge, and that animal is looking for you, and you make a move, and this.
Yeah. And look, that was a hard lesson learned, and it broke my heart, because I told Manano and Bitoko on the way here that my goal was to be able to call a bull in for Manano or anybody, right?
You have done several times, bro.
But I mean, be able to harvest the bull that was being called in. But it definitely taught me a lesson that I know now I won't forget. And the other thing is, like, even though you don't see the bull, because of the exact same thing you're explaining right now, they could probably see you. The angles are so different in a mountain. The sun is shining. I might have been in the skyline being hit by the sun square in my face.
Yeah,
and
you
that
have
bull.
to know that you're hidden by terrain or vegetation in order to make a move.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
Joe, I wanted to bring something that I think it's a rookie mistake we have made. So we were discussing about communication while we are in this situation, because it happened to us in Colorado, it happened to us in New Mexico like 2 years ago, and it happened again. We were trying to find a way to communicate each other when he can't see me, or while he's raking or something. So
that's a tough one.
It is.
Turns out that the Mr. Pollito, as he goes, AKA, he saw, he said, that's illegal, I think, and I haven't Googled it yet, but I will. But it makes sense.
You were talking about using radios.
Communication.
Well, we tried through the Bluetooth, and of course didn't work out. So because it's at the distance. So, but it totally makes sense.
I don't know. There's guys that communicate over radios all the time during the hunt. So.
I think it depends on what stage you're in.
I'm sorry?
Depends on what state you're in.
Yeah.
Something to look into.
So it's something to look, and you can tell the experience we got with hunters with a drone.
Yeah.
We got that thing coming too. So I just wanted to bring that rookie mistake because somebody can, made that mistake.
I don't
as well,
necessarily think that's a rookie mistake. It's happened to all of us.
Right.
If you've done this long enough, you get separated from your hunter, and you're just doing the best you can.
Yeah, crap happens, man.
I
That's
think,
part of elk hunting.
I think one of the things as a caller, and for me, is when I'm in a set calling and I got a guy that I can see what he's doing, and he gets set like there's something coming in. My job is to go and keep moving away from him so I can bring the bull by, right? Yeah. And when we set static and you can't move, or maybe your terrain won't allow you to move, that silence gets to you, right? Oh, I ain't heard anything in a little while.
Yeah, we get edgy and we feel like we got to do something, right?
Yeah.
We step out and look, and boom, man, they on us like a rat on a Cheeto, For me, as I've gotten longer into this calling thing, as soon as I see my hunter set up and I know something's coming in, I'm going, right? I'm gonna try to drag the bull with me. Joe's one of the best at that. When he sees you set up, he's moving, man. He's going and calling, trying to drag the bull by you, So
it's harder.
It is.
It's harder when the animals aren't being vocal.
Yes.
Because when they are being vocal, it's easier to know, because you know where you left your hunter, you know where the animal is, and you can steer better, right?
And you can check his temperature. You know what the animal's temperature is.
Yes.
But when it's a silent situation and you're just seeing on movement, then it's got to be a little bit of a trust issue and hope that things happen.
Yep.
I mean, because you still have to pull it by them, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, it is a tough situation. The only thing I try to do, like if I have a shooter up there, and I'm going back, right? What I have to do is I have to trust my shooter to say, okay, that shooter's going to now. I'm doing what I can do. So it's up to the shooter to make the correct moves. And if something happens that the shooter needs to change the situation, then they 3 cow call me, and we make a change, right? So what I have to do is understand that I'm not in control of everything. That I have to depend on my shooter to do what they can do. Right. They have to be active, and they have to take that role. They have to be able to do that. So that can get tough, but it's something that all of us have to deal with, especially the thicker it is, right? Yeah. The more open it is, a little easier. Right. The thicker it is, a little bit harder. And especially when it's like this, because we've been hunting for days, and we've had encounters that we're used to having multiple encounters.
Yeah.
And we're having working our butt off for a single encounter per day. And so when you don't capitalize on that encounter, you rake yourself over the coals. Yeah. What could I have done different? Yeah. And I mean, after after I called that bull in for you, you were telling me later on, you're like, wow, but I had this. What if I didn't? Woulda, coulda, shoulda, and it's good to do that, to mess with that in your head, to think about for the future. But there's just some things that we're not in control of.
For sure.
You
have the control.
No, that animal's trying to survive. Yeah. We're in thickest stuff that you can do, and if you can get the opportunity and it happens and we can finish. Yeah. I think we've had opportunities.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest things I would have to say is and I appreciate Gilbert, because he was basically doing a lot of calling, and so it's important when you set up and I say, okay, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to look. Well, when you're both together and you look, okay, yeah, that's a good spot. Well, you don't know if it's a good spot until you get there.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, okay, well,
especially
I'm going to have to move over here, right? Yeah. Well, I think it's very important as a caller that you go, okay, where in the hell is he? You move and get yourself in position, and you look, just like you say, all right, here comes a bull, where am I going? I got to be able to clear out of here and move. And so it's important the very, very first of your setup that you have visual contact.
Yeah. I would let RC go set up, and then I would move myself
Right.
to,
Exactly.
to complement that.
That doesn't
depending on
mean
the
that your
wind,
shooter's
too.
not going to move. Though.
No, that's right. That's
Right.
But you got to be so aware of the wind too, because if the wind happens
You
to
do.
shift,
Yeah, we
and you have
constantly-
the opportunity to move as a caller
Right.
in order to compensate for that wind.
And we're
movement.
constantly checking that.
And I always do that, and he goes like, "Please don't move." He always get to the point. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna go there."
Don't move.
Well, I
You
don't-
just
I
go
don't-
ways too far.
Yes,
man.
I always.
way down.
It's you know, it's my way. You know, I see you. I'll be there, Luis. So when
don't
I go
start-
there, I see. Okay, that bullet's not coming from here. I'm gonna take that position because I'm gonna get more
But it's
opportunity.
important for
And I
the caller
move.
for you to
So
get
I-
set up.
But that's where, if you're going to move forward like that much, you should actually cow call your
Caller to come
caller.
forward,
Now he knows that, and it's okay to cow call because you're moving forward,
Yeah,
so that
right.
pinpoint changes.
Right, but it becomes more complex when you are in a flying V situation
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
now you
Two
have the other
shooters.
shooter that
For
hasn't
sure.
moved,
For
and
sure.
this one goes all the way over there, and now you're like,
in
what the
a
hell?
flying V, and for what our listeners, if you don't understand that, so when you got two shooters out and we're forming a V with the caller back in the back, in that situation, the movement should only be lateral.
Right.
Yes.
Not,
You know,
not
to
perpendicular.
the side. Yeah, you don't want to leave because now it becomes a safety issue for everybody,
Yeah,
right?
everybody.
Right.
So, yeah, to move so that you have better shooting lanes laterally is okay, but you got
I
to be
don't-
careful of
I don't move when we are
flying V,
Flying
right.
V.
Yes.
I always move when I'm alone because
Right.
I get to better
that's where
opportunity.
you just gotta
but
let him
still,
know.
it's an issue because he doesn't know.
He doesn't
where
know.
I am.
Yeah, you just disappear.
Yeah.
right?
I don't start my calling set until he's set. When he's set, and he'll actually, RC's been really good with me, is he'll point at me and go, all right, I'm ready. I got to go ahead and start, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's really important for letting your guy get settled in. You know, he's going to knock an arrow, maybe clear a few branches out of his way, but get his feet to where it's a lot more quiet if he needs to move, whatever it may be. But it's important for you to have that rapport with your hunter
Yeah,
and caller. You
And
know,
that's why
And-
the communication issue
Yeah.
came out. So
Yeah.
that's why we were discussing. Hey,
I saw him several times put his finger to his ear and point in a direction. So I knew he was locked on something, right? He's locked on listening to something or whatever. He may turn his focus that way. And if he does this and I hear something coming, I got to go, right? So it's important for you to learn. And we talked about this before we hunted. You know, if I put my hand up there, he knew
That's a hunter.
that's a hunter. You know, I mean, we have hand signals, right?
Right, yes.
Joe has them too. You know, when Joe wants you to get right here on his 6, he puts his hand right on his butt and he taps his butt to get right there. Yeah. Yeah. You know, we hear things walking. You know, I mean, it's simple stuff, but if you don't do it, it can really hinder your hunt.
And
you know?
actually,
we
in
have
our
to-
academy, we have a lot of hand signals that
That's
we show
right.
people
Yeah.
how to
Well,
do
that's
stuff like that. Yeah.
Mr. Pollito asked us for the very first time, hey, what's the communication here? Like, we was like, yeah.
which was great.
Cool.
It was great.
Yeah, he was so organized and prepared. He came really prepared. And he was
Well,
like,
tell you the
he
truth,
he was
guys.
asking about the
He's been
communication.
through the academy and he's
Yeah.
listened
Yeah.
to all
Yeah,
our
but-
stuff,
But,
right?
but I was like,
Exactly.
yeah, this is cow call.
Yeah.
This is like a bull, and this is a time for a drink.
Yeah.
So it's not a bugle. It's not a bugle. It's a drink.
You know, it was brought up a while ago about the radios. You know, in all honesty, I've been there with the radios.
I don't like
and
it.
I don't like
don't-
them
I
at
don't
all
like it.
because
I don't
what
say that.
happens
I said the same
is
thing.
It's like
They'll go.
they go.
yeah, they're loud and they're
not
bulky.
now, you know. And I tell you what, 90% of the time when I was carrying the radio, I turned it off.
Yeah, yeah.
Till I need
Here
it.
until afterward.
I agree.
Right.
Yeah. It makes it hard unless, you know. Now, there are things that people use, even in the military, they use clicks, you know, so like if you want to test before you go over the air, you do a click so that they can hear it. But you got to have something in your earbud for
But
for doing
again,
that,
check
right?
your local
Laws.
rules
laws.
and laws
Yeah.
and
Don't make
you
the
know
mistake.
because
absolutely.
you know
Yeah,
he,
Everywhere is different.
Mr.
And then
Cody
it-
brought up a good point. I'm sorry.
I
Chuck.
was just going to say that even when you get everything coordinated, there's unexpected stuff that happens.
Yes.
Like Gilbert.
Yes.
What was your situation with Joe?
Yeah, well, I'm going to acquiesce to Cody because he kind of had the second individual encounter, right? Or really first encounter, and decided that he was going to pass. And I wanted him to tell his dad's Mr. Kirkpatrick's story on the ratchet strap, on the ratchet bull. So for sure. I'll go right after you, Cody, but I want you to go ahead and break into that.
So, after getting hurt, we decided to kind of change, tactics.
Talk about you getting hurt.
Yeah. Sorry. So first day, Joe had mentioned, we started up, plan A. We ended up playing MNOP, whatever it was. And the downfall was so bad. I don't remember a specific event, but I ended up tweaking my knee. And so, you think, well, it just kind of hurts a little bit. You're good. And, about 4 miles later, I get back to camp and it's starting to hurt pretty bad. That night I went out with RC and Joe, and we started up into a spot, and it just got progressively worse. And it just got stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. And I finally turned back to RC and I said, hey, if you guys are going farther from the truck, I got to turn around. Mm-hmm. And, it hurt coming down the mountain. Yeah. And
you said it hurts worse going down than it does going up.
It hurts worse going down.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And so got to one point I had to sit on my butt and slide down the mountain. So that gets kind of scary.
Yeah. Your knee was locking up.
Huh?
It was locking up.
It was locking up, and I just couldn't walk.
So you had to go to town and get looked at, right?
So drove all the way to Taos and went to the ER there, and
they give you medicine or drugs?
Medicine.
Both. Both. Mama brought drugs.
So
they gave me medicine. Mama brought drugs.
Advised. It's going to hurt.
Yeah. After the doctor looked at it, she said, ACL looks good, MCL looks good.
Good news within the bad.
Good news within the bad, but it still hurts. She
got a meniscus tear.
She says it's probably a meniscus tear, and pain management. So,
which I got to give it to you, man.
I sent Joe. I did a short video of I'm not gonna quit. So whatever we got to do.
And that's what I was going to say.
Some of that video right here.
and that's what I was about to get to say too. I got to give it to you because an injury like that here in the mountains is no joke.
And, especially this steep country.
Yeah,
right.
We had Brendan get hurt last year.
Yeah.
Y'all remember?
Well, and
broke his foot.
If it's not steep, it's incredibly rocky.
So, again, the same as with Manano and his school, you going through this injury and working it through and not giving in. Because anybody at that situation would, this is my luck. I'm here, hunting with the group and stuff like that. Now I get hurt just right before, at the beginning of the hunt.
Yeah, you put in 3.4 miles a day with me.
Yes.
Yes.
And with us as well, he was going over and under blowdowns and stuff like that, and
he sucked it up.
Complaining all the way too.
What?
I was complaining all the way.
But today. Yeah, man. It doesn't matter. We all knew your condition with the knee, but yet that you didn't let that stop you.
Right.
So let me ask you this. I know they talked about the story and everything like that, but now you actually, the whole goal was you coming in and hunting with us, right?
Yeah. Right.
And so each day, one day you'd be with me, a couple days you're with the Mafia, today you were with Gil, and tomorrow we're going to finish off again, you and I. So talking about lessons and possible things that people might get out of this, what have you gotten out of it? Besides a lot of gas in the face.
Please.
Officially
Please don't go
Except for the gentleman here.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the only one.
Oh,
He keeps it all to
dude, man,
himself.
I'm betting with him, so I don't know.
You have to explain to our listeners what he meant by the gas.
Well, yeah,
Situation.
let's change the topic.
You can show on.
Yeah,
You can show
let's
the
change
video.
the topic.
So, what kind of things have you? How has this benefited you?
Confidence, I would say. Myself, just learning by yourself. You're do it yourself person. I've hunted all my life. I know check your wind, the basic stuff. But when I was with Gilbert today, he's like, "Hey, look up there. That there's a bull up there." And having that confidence to really know that that's a possible place that they're going to be, so call towards it. And if you call in there and they don't come, well, they're not there at that moment.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're not there. They're just not there at that moment.
Sure. Right.
And I learned about like you guys discussed this summer, talking about cast calling, and following you, walking through the woods, just making yourself a part of the environment instead of being a hunter. And moving, and Luis mentioned that just tonight, moving at an animal speed.
Yeah.
And, not hoping for something, but knowing that a situation or a bull or cows or whatever are going to come in, but they're going to come in on their own time.
Yeah. Right. On elk time.
Yeah, instead of trying to make something happen, I found myself last year calling, like being really persistent, and then wondering, well, what the heck's going on? And the reality is, and what I found out by busting elk was, they were coming.
You just weren't giving them enough time.
Just be patient.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Now I want to inject in there, though, is that because I hear a lot of people that listen to us and follow us, they'll go out, they'll go into the woods, they'll set up, and they'll start doing a scenario, right? And they're like, well, it's not working for me. And without understanding that there has to be a reason why you begin a scenario. Either there's sign that's there, or you have visually heard something, you've audibly heard something, or you've visibly seen something,
Right.
or you have smell or sign or reason, or it's an area that is a
Pinch
type
point.
of bench
Yes.
that
Yeah.
has had a lot of activity that should be a
potential.
potential that there could be an animal in there.
Yeah,
right?
well,
Not just set
depending
up
on the
anywhere.
time of the day,
Right.
if you're expecting the animals to come up to a bedding
Yeah.
area, and there's that funnel, and you want to sit in there, for a reason. Like
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's important, because so many people think like, okay, I go in the woods, I set up, and I start calling, right? And you've got to have a reason why you're going to be doing that calling there. Is it a water hole that's getting hit, several times during the day, so you're trying to pull them a little sooner, right? Is it a food plot that you're in between that, where they like to feed and where they like to bed, and so you're trying to pull them your direction instead of them going maybe 200 yards or 100 yards over to a side where you never see them, right? Or have you just caught a whiff of them because you're in an area where maybe you're a little bit above, and because they're moving up and you've caught a smell of them coming that way, well, instead of them going desired, maybe you can pull them towards where you are. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, right?
Yes, and go ahead.
So Luis was talking about that the other day when he was calling, and we got back to the bike, and he was like, and he didn't specifically say this, but he was painting a picture.
100. Yeah.
And he was saying, I not only know how to make the sounds, I now know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And
Big difference.
like you made a call. We had a setup one time, and you're like, all right, well, I was playing like I'm an individual cow here, and then all of a sudden I introduced a bull, and then
Telling a story.
just telling a story.
Yeah.
And
Doing elk things.
This morning we did that
I
several
learned that from you, and I appreciate that.
This
I
morning we
learned
did
that
that
from
several times. Yeah. This morning we did that several
Same
times.
thing.
We did the same thing. We introduced a lone cow looking, for a bull, and then we brought the bull in and him yearning to get her to do what he wants, right? Displaying with some raking. And we did that because we were in a pinch area that, man, it's had bulls in it, you know,
Right.
and they're not really sounding off. So I knew when they came, they were going to probably be silent, but I wanted to appeal to their nature that, hey, there's a cow down there. And, you know, when they hear that glunking going on, generally, you know, there's going to be some rutting activity, you know. So, yeah.
I've got one question, and you know, we've seen sign, but I think that myself, you see sign and you get stuck in the rut of thinking that the elk are going to do the same thing every single day.
Yeah, they're not.
Right.
And I think that could be, at least for myself, what I've learned hunting with you guys is don't get discouraged if they're not doing the same thing every day,
Right.
because again, they're not on our time, they're on their own time.
We tried something totally unorthodox today. You know, elk are going up from morning to afternoon, right? I mean, they're going to head up top. And I'm like, this has been so unorthodox, the hunt. I'm going to do something unorthodox, and I'm going to go down into some bowls and see if they're down in their bedding. You know, we're going to try to get in their bedroom, you know.
And you know, actually, that wasn't a bad idea at all, because as hot as it is,
Yes.
Right.
any areas that might have been a little bit cooler, dark, or
Yeah.
you know, especially in. So for all you guys that are listening, you know, we're up here in beautiful country right now. I mean, it's
11,000 some odd feet.
11,000. It's gorgeous, but because we have, and this has been a
Beautiful.
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 But because it's been a struggle, what I've often told people is, man, when it's not happening the pretty, go ugly.
Exactly.
And what we've done is we've been driving an hour to go down to lower level in country that nobody is hunting, and we're finding bulls, man,
Yes.
down there.
Yeah.
It's still been a struggle because of the type of terrain we're in. But I mean, we're finding the animals. So
a
that's
good example of that from last year, Joe. When we first started hunting, when the season started, we started finding elk at 10,600 feet,
right.
and then pressure came in, and then where did they go? And then we started going higher and higher to try to find them higher. It turns out,
They went
guess
lower.
what?
They were
went
down.
low. So they were, you know, talking about unorthodox. Those are the kind of things that you're having. You can't bucket yourself into
Right.
a situation.
No, you have to-
you have to.
You have to think about what meets their needs. You know, where are they going to be able to have thermal regulations, and where they can keep their body cool, you know, when it's hot? Where are they going to be able to eat, and where are they going to find water? And here's the tough part for us is that where we are now hunting in the lower country, water is very sparse. There's rivers, and these guys are traveling miles to get to the water. So the time of being able to hit them when they're coming back through to the trees or to the bed, it's hit or miss because there's so many miles in between there.
And who knows where they go in between that?
In between that, right? So
They go where they want.
absolutely, man.
Yeah, a good example of it. He found a big old pond right on top.
In
so
a
there's
saddle.
in a saddle. There's not much water around. In that pond, I mean, yeah, you see tracks and stuff, but no, it's not. They don't go watering
Not there every day.
single day.
No.
So
Well,
that's
they don't
that's
have to
the
because
destination.
of the rain.
They have
Yeah.
It's the
water and food
destination
everywhere.
water hole.
Yeah, they got
You know.
every
Yeah,
it's
there's
all-
water. But down low, water is very sparse.
Sparse, yeah.
Yeah,
And so, I mean,
It's amazing. And another thing, Joe, it's amazing how these elk, they don't poop. Man, I just gotta say it. There's no doo-doo.
well,
There's tracks everywhere, but no doo-doo. No fresh doo-doo.
Highways.
Okay?
I
yeah,
think it's been because it's so dry.
it had to be
Because
RC.
it's just, I mean, you know what little we did find, it's real dry.
yeah. So we were. It's so funny because it's been so far and few between finding droppings that we're taking pictures.
Hell yeah! I'm gonna give Joe a picture that you can smear it. You know?
They do exist.
They do exist.
Tracks everywhere, no doo-doo. I mean, you know, there's rabbits around. We see rabbit doo-doo. You know, we see deer doo-doo.
Mule deer, yeah.
Yeah, mule deer
Mule deer.
doo-doo. But, man, it's been, I should say scat, right, or dung.
Well, if
But-
you're not in some place, like if they are moving constantly, unless you find those areas where they are like staying and feeding or staying and bedding, you're not going to find the droppings like that.
I guess, man.
Yeah.
We've managed to find some wallows down there too that are used, but they're not used every day.
Nope.
They're nomadic elk, and they move through. And for us, it just means you got to be there at the right time, at the right place,
Just
and then
gotta keep working.
Yeah, and then capitalize on the opportunities you have.
Yeah, I mean, with that, I mean, about looking for different opportunities, you went to explore a different area, right, with your dad.
Right. Well, because I was injured, we decided to try to take it easy.
Easier country.
Yes.
It wasn't easy.
You didn't want to straddle any more logs?
Well, it was easy because we didn't hunt too far from the truck. So, but yeah, we got down on a ridge down there. Just went out on a point there, and I was calling. Dad was back at the truck, and we were really close to the truck. And so I just started calling, doing scenarios, just cast calling. And so while I'm calling, I go quiet and I'm listening, and it's just deathly quiet, except I start hearing this, it's just extremely loud, and I turn around, and my dad is sifting through a junk pile that somebody had thrown out on the side of the road, and he found him a halfway decent ratchet strap. And so he was testing it out.
While you're trying to call.
While I'm calling, trying to listen. And so I turn around and look, and I'm like, what in the world's going on? He's over there like this. Just really making sure it works, because he's taking it home.
Yeah. And found it in a pile of junk.
So I look at him, I'm like, I just put my hands up like this, and of course, he just puts his head down like a little kid that got caught with, a hand in the cookie jar. He just drops his ratchet strap, and he walks back to the truck. And I'll be dogged, it wasn't, very few minutes later, all of a sudden a cow shows up. And
the ratchet cow.
The ratchet cow. So anyway, she came up to the top of the hill, and just like we were saying, they're quiet. She made one call trying to locate where I'm at, and so I answered. Of course, she came right to me about 16, 20 yards. Stopped right there. Rookie mistake. I was standing right there in the middle of the open. Of course, who would think that something would, a bunch of cows and a bull would come up to a junk pile, but evidently they do. So she came up there, pegged me, and then she kind of blew off. And from watching you guys and listening and going through the academy and everything, I went ahead and called again towards her, because I knew she didn't really know what I was.
Right.
But I did just a soft calf call, and boy, she came right back up to me again. And so I passed. I just didn't draw. You're in the moment.
Right.
Hindsight's always 20/20. I should have shot her, but what do you do?
It's all right.
So then I turn around and I look at Dad, and he's leaning up against the truck, right by the ratchet pile, and he's watching some other elk across, and there was another big bull in there, and that cow ended up going back around there. He chased her around, and they took off. So
he said you weren't ready.
Dad's claimed that I wasn't ready. I mean, who would think? I mean, you turn around, a guy's over a ratchet strap, and you're like, all right, well, this is over.
This is over, yeah. We just want to go home now.
And that's the thing, man. It's just like with these hunts, if anything, what I've seen and learned over the years is that your hunt can change in seconds.
In a second.
When you least expect it.
Yeah, it could be. It could go from like a complete just chaos, nothing going right, to just all of a sudden you're, in high cotton.
Yeah, the legend and I had something real similar happen to us, and it's a learning moment for all of us. It was so, the deadfalls and the blowdowns are so bad here that very hard to, even while you're cast calling and walking through the mountain, have an arrow knocked up ready. because it's just a safety thing.
I noticed that today. You had one knocked the whole time.
Pretty much knock, yeah. And I was managing not to get in too much of that bad volcanic rock. And you can ask Joe, last night I had one knocked pretty much all the time, but when we started down, I said, whoa, Joe, I got to get this razor off the end of this thing. So RC and I we were hunting a little ridgetop area that, look, and shout out to Chad, the local here, where we're hunting. He gave us a little tip on where to go. And,
Belleville?
Yeah. What was it?
Belleville?
Belleville? Yeah.
Belleville.
And anyway, shout out to Brother Chad and you know, giving us some local information, and we used that local information. There were a lot of elk sign up there on that ridge, but it was old, you know, a lot of old sign.
Well,
so, go ahead.
There was somebody else that gave us some help, too. A young fella that listens to us.
Yeah, man, Richard.
Richard.
Yeah, Richard gave us a lot of help
Hey,
too.
Richard,
So,
shout out to you, bud.
peace,
man.
brother. Thanks so much for all your help and all the you know, using maps and showing us where we should be, where we shouldn't be, what we need to be looking for. I mean, look, we're elk hunters, but you know, you local people that know this area and that chew the dirt every day, we sure appreciate the help and reaching out and helping
Chad
us.
had listened to the Elk Bros too.
Yeah, Chad, we met Chad on the road, and man, he was like, "Oh man," he goes, "I recognized you. That's the Mafia. Where's the legend?" You know, so it was really cool to meet him on the trail, man. I mean,
that's awesome.
and he's out up here doing his thing, getting his groceries and whatever else he needs.
He drove us up there to the spot.
Yeah,
and
he
everything.
was really kind.
He actually drove and let us follow him up to the spot. Said, if I had 3 days or 5 days to fill a tag,
This is where I
it'd
would
be right here on these ridges, right? So he's killed some bulls there.
Yeah,
So
the only thing is, what's been happening historically
yeah,
is not happening now.
anymore.
no, that's right.
Correct.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody's
Yeah.
kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah, and even the locals are like, "Whoa, man, this is
they're
so
like,
different."
wow,
Especially
it's
when
so
they come up here and see the blowdowns and the deadfall. But RC and I had a really good morning. We started out in easing up that ridge, calling and setting up scenarios, and man, it was really awesome. I mean, the way we did it, we had the wind in our face, the sun at our back. I mean, it was so good, but we just didn't have any activity. I mean, nothing really coming to us, nothing talking to us. The day before that, we did have a bull talk to us. He just kind of barked at us. I think he caught our wind down below us on that same ridge, but never saw him, you know. So we got the wind easing up through there, and we top out on the very top of the ridge, right? I'm not known to going to the tops of ridges, man. I really like them mid-level things. I dig it.
You don't want to gain or lose too much.
I don't want to gain or lose elevation, man. Absolutely. So we told each other we're going to go to the top and we're going to find out what's up there and how it looks and just see the blowdown situation, right? So we got up to the top and we're huffing because there's no air up here. Somebody sucked it all up. And at 12,000 feet, 11,500, wherever we're at, we're huffing and puffing. And I happened to look to our left, and we're standing in this, just in front of one of these big blowdowns where the root system sticks up.
Yeah.
So we kind of got a backdrop. I happened to look up. The luck that we've had has been good luck because we saw something, but the finishing part was not where we wanted it to be because we really weren't ready, But going through all that stuff, guys, it's really not a smart idea to have an arrow knocked up. But when I turned and looked to my left at about, 17, 18 yards, in walks a giant cow, okay? I mean, one of biblical proportion. She comes walking into our lives and walks within 8 yards of me and RC, and we're looking at each other and looking at her like, oh my God, there's an elk. I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh. We're looking at her, and she has looked at us twice and not paid any attention to us. And I'm like, okay, we're going to let her walk by us, and then we're going to get us an arrow knocked up, and we're going to call her back, right? Yeah. So no sense in trying to booger in her, you know, and he had the same idea. So we're standing there, statues, I mean, stiff as a board, but, you know, not even trying to breathe, you know, and slow the breathing down from us huffing and puffing, right? Well, she gets to kind of my right side, and she's going through, she's still at about 8-9 yards. I turn and look where she came from. Here comes another cow, right? A yearling, probably a 2-year-old or something like that. And she's coming just like Mama, and she's right on her heels. And then I'm thinking, okay, maybe there's a bull with them. If she comes by, we're going to get an arrow knocked up and get this deal done. Now look, we might have had to have a loaf of bread and some sandwich material to eat them up there on the top of that ridge. But I know one thing, I got my bros here, and they're going to help us get her down, right? So RC and I both make the move to get an arrow knocked. Well, little girl sees the movement right on my 6 here. She sees the movement, and she pops her head under a limb and looks at us like, hey, man, that wasn't there before, right? And she looks at us up, down, like that, and then, boom, man, she blows out. As soon as she blows out, we get an arrow knock. I get Mom turned, right, but no shot in. I mean, it looks like this in there, you know, all blowdowns and everything. We get Mom turned, but she actually blew out even further, and Mom went with her, you know. Yeah. So here we are, you know, sitting up there. Now we're boudéing to one another about what in the world have we done wrong? We did all of this right. Get up here, and then we get slam dunked by old girl and little girl. And, I mean, it was just, and look, I'm guys, if y'all know me, you know, I love to shoot bulls, but if a cow gets in my way, shame on.
You don't discriminate.
I don't discriminate. No, we're going to eat elk meat, right? So RC and I sat down and had a little bit to eat and talked about the scenario. And, you know, you can list that as a failure point and not having an arrow knocked. And I guess, you know, when you top out in an area or something like that, maybe it's a good idea to have an arrow knock, because you never know what's going to be coming in. And I've lived by that all week, right? Yeah. Because I learned from that. But I won't suggest you guys doing it when you're going through the deadfalls.
That's a tough one, man. I mean, you know, generally you're going to have a reason. You've either heard, seen, or, you know, feel something. And so you, and I tell people, it's, if you ever have a feeling that you need to knock an arrow, knock one, you know, for that moment. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. I don't always recommend somebody to be walking. If
somebody's going to the restroom while you're up in the mountains, that's a good point. A good moment.
If I'm in good terrain and I've been cast calling, I'm gonna knock an arrow.
Yeah,
because I can have bulls come into a silent.
If you're in a scenario where that's happening, absolutely, there's a reason why that's going to happen there. But I mean, you just grunted up a hill.
Oh yeah.
You know, going through all that stuff, and then you get up there. I mean, 100 times there's no way people would have an arrow knocked in that.
You'll see the video here, right here, where I say gloom, despair, and agony on me. I mean, seriously, if we had no bad luck, we'd have no luck at all. I'm showing my age there, a little hee-haw throwback, but it was just that way that day.
Let's talk about bad luck, good luck, because I'm not sure what... Day two.
Yeah.
Myself and the Mafia, I had an idea of a place that I wanted to go.
And you did.
Purposely.
And you did.
Yeah, Joe was wanting to make sure. He was testing to see if
he
we
was
were
taking on us.
Yes, he was making sure we were in good shape.
Yeah.
You know, right off the bat, day two, it's like, okay, let's see if these guys have really been.
Day one, I've already tore up Cody's knee. So day two, I might as well go take the Mafia.
Leaves more hunting for Joe if he injures everybody.
That's my role. That's my role, man.
I got the whole area.
So we did a bit of a hoof, man, and
that big.
And let me tell you, I mean, we went from the bottom of this canyon up and over into an area.
We started from the top.
Back to the bottom.
From the top
and
to
then
the
from
bottom,
the bottom
back up
to the higher top, all the way up.
This is supposed to be a horse trail. We did the horse trail on foot and more.
But
No.
Some would say
Hey,
unnecessarily.
we hit the horse trail right on the top.
Yeah.
But we walked to the to the.
So one of the positive things out of this was something that we acquired that the whole crew used on this hunt was something called the bow hitch. And for you guys that don't know of the bow hitch, it's the greatest.
God bless you, Armando.
Yes.
His
crew.
Armando and Doug produced the bow hitch.
Thank you so much, guys.
If you're interested in it, look, we have each purchased a bow hitch. We have it on our bows. We have an Elk Bros edition on there. But and I can tell you, Luis is the type. When I brought it into camp for him, Luis is the type is like, okay, I'm gonna try something, but dude, you know, I can't tell you if I'm gonna like it or not.
Yeah, I was hesitant. I'd seen you use it before, and I don't know. You know, it didn't quite.
Well, we've always carried our bows.
So after the day of going up to Planet wherever we went to, right? What did you think then?
No, I mean I made a video of the hitch and talking through my thoughts on it. I was hesitant initially. It's super easy to install. We just installed it here with an Allen wrench. It didn't have to add anything or take anything away from the bow. It just attaches right to where your scope or where your sight attaches. And the versatility of being able to adjust with that strap how high you want it on your side. I've tried different devices for that purpose in the past. I tried I've tried the slings before. Don't like them because you can
to get from a sling position to shooting.
In a quick situation where you have to kind of really react quick, the sling doesn't work out really good. I tried something different from a company I like and use. It's that you put in your belt and then you tie a little knot around your bow, and it has a little hook that latches on that belt device. But you're carrying the bow vertical, so it's great for when you're standing and you need to rest it, but not for walking with it.
Right.
Then I also use the hook that sits on the side, but then that hook
hangs on.
It gets in everything.
And then you have to have it balanced, and it gets in everything. So this thing, you just kind of put it in the loop around your strap on the side. The bow sits perfectly balanced. Horizontally to where you have good clearance below you, and you can walk, especially when we're calling, right?
Yeah, man.
I mean, you're manipulating between diaphragms. You have your grunt tube with you, and then if you had the bow there to worry about too, it just makes it so complicated. But this bow hitch was a game changer for me, Joe. I mean, I have to say it honestly.
For me as well.
I didn't have one. I was the only one out of the group, and I got to follow guys for 20 odd miles or however far we went this week.
Yes, sir.
And I told Joe today, I said, hey, I want one.
Yeah.
I mean, because I just saw
they've been an absolute game changer for us. Armando and Doug, man.
Thank you.
We couldn't have done what we did, doing what we've done
in the country we
were in without the bow hitch.
So I found myself trying to climb over blowdowns and stuff, needing both hands. Had I had a bow in my hand, it would have been so dangerous.
How about when we were coming down?
When we were coming down
the hill?
Oh man.
I mean,
So on that, but I want everybody to know, on that trip, I told these guys I really think there's going to be some elk in there. It took us an hour and a half of hiking, which isn't bad,
like this.
quickly
and through walls. And we get in there and we call a bull in.
Yeah, we were walking on the side of a ridge, and we just kind of stood there on the side of a ridge looking down at a park. And we're sitting there for a little bit, and I look up, and all of a sudden...
I had put on some scenarios.
Yeah, you've been calling the whole time as we were coming down, and you were, making some calls, and all of a sudden I'm standing there, and I look up, and I see something brown within the green, way on the other side. What, 400 yards, maybe?
357.
350. To be exact. There you go.
To be exact. Don't be exact on lawyers.
So I'm like, what is that? So
Yeah.
I pulled my rangefinder, and sure enough, man, there's a bull there. And then where? It's hard, right? It's so far away, it's hard to kind of explain exactly where it was. And so I kind of pointed them in the right direction. I said, man, you call me crazy, but he's looking straight at us. Obviously, he's got us pegged by the sound. And, but, I mean, we were within cover, you know, and all of a sudden he just stood there and we were kind of staying, and he didn't like it. He turned around and kind of went up, and he was right at the base, you know, right at the tree line from the park to the dark timber. And so Joe
put on some more scenarios.
Yeah, Joe threw out, you know, some more calls and started calling and calling and calling. And we kept looking in that direction, and sure enough, another bull goes by.
A smaller
body size. I think it was probably a cow or something like that. And then we see a spike that comes down. But it was funny because as you would see them through that window.
We weren't leaving, actually. We were going down, and Joe spotted like, hey, there's a bull coming.
Yeah, because the third one that came in, it went down, and we would loose them. And it was almost like if there was a terrain depression
like
there.
a little corner we couldn't see.
Between the park, between the park and the tree line,
I'd
right?
to see a Trenache.
So
since I've been here.
You haven't seen a Trenache yet?
I'll show you one.
Oh, we'll show you one tomorrow.
Show me one tomorrow. Show me one tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll show you a Trenache.
So we were like, okay, Joe was like, he kept on calling, and then we got to thinking, I was like, well, let's play the wind ride and see if we can kind of get closer to see. Obviously, there's some activity on that side of the ridge. And so as we started kind of executing on that plan, walking the side of that ridge, we're working in this order, right? Joe is in front calling. I'm behind Joe, and Manano is behind, and Joe is like, oh, wait. And I, you know, we all froze, right? Right where we were at. And Joe looks up and is like, there's a bull coming. And there's a tree line or a bush line in front of us, between an open downhill and the park.
Beautiful open downhill.
Beautiful.
A very extreme downhill.
Yeah,
too.
It was a wall.
It was pretty steep. And so we're walking on the sideline, and we have this trees in front of us, kind of protecting us from being spotted. But I couldn't see the bull coming up until it was like, I don't know, maybe 90 yards, you know, running up the hill. I mean, amazing how these animals can just come up the hill in no time.
No time.
Yeah, it was crazy.
In no time. So Joe just kind of keeps calling, and you know, I look back and I see Manano behind some trees where he has no shot. He can't see the animal. And then I see I'm behind a tree, and then there's a small little window on my left with a branch on top.
It was a limited situation for him, so he knew he had to change it.
Yeah, and then Joe was on the front side, so I'm thinking, well, this bull's coming straight up. If this bull comes up, he has two choices. He's either going to take a right or going to take a left. If he takes a right, I know Joe's going to take him because he's going to be broadside. But if he takes a left, I have to do something about it, because I don't, as of now, I just got, you know, trees in front of me.
Sure.
So he comes up, and then he gets to a point where he kind of hangs up, and he kind of doesn't like the situation, and he boogers. Yeah, and he boogers with his, you know, his antlers down like that, and he goes to the left. And I'm like, oh crap. So as he gets behind trees, I try to kind of move closer to that opening.
So you have better shooting lane.
So I had a better shooting lane, and then Joe calls him back. But when he starts coming back again, I'm still in no position because it's, again, very steep, and there was a branch above me, so I had to get myself on my knees, and I didn't have a good window. So I start slowly creeping in. He comes in behind a pine, and I take that opportunity to set myself in position. So I had one knee on the side, one leg back. I mean, talk about a crooked position. But I was in position, and then at that point, I think he heard me, and he boogered again. And Joe called him back. And when he comes back, I had range a pine in front of me that was at 20 yards, and I had range a set of junipers that were at 40. So when he starts coming in, he comes right in between the two and just comes right out in front of that pine tree, and I'm thinking, well, he's at 30. And so I'm in this position now. I drew before he came out in front of the pine tree, and I'm downhill, and I'm thinking, I heard Beto saying, if you're shooting downhill, you may use the shallower pin, right? So, look, my rangefinder has the ability to give me the inclination and give me the actual shot distance. But in the moment, that's what we talk about. It's so different to shooting targets and being in a situation because everything happens so quick. And I made a mistake. I shot him for 25 yards. He was at 33 when we finally confirmed where he was. And at the moment I shot, alert. Yeah, he was looking straight at us. So when I shot, I could see the arrow following that 30-yard trajectory perfectly. And as the arrow was getting there, it was gonna miss him anyways, but he was pivoting out.
So I'm gonna tell everybody the true story.
Oh yeah.
And I don't have I lied.
Yeah, I was there.
The hand of God.
Oh yeah.
The hand of God, just as Luis took the shot, the hand of God came down and smacked that elk in the side of the head to turn him and go, no, not today. We got saved on that day because we actually,
you got a plan.
Yeah, we had a plan, and I had
arguably.
So I had a plan that if we took an elk in this area,
there's a road
there would be a road that we could get out on that would help us because we were so far in, and because of the altitude, the height, and the speed.
Yeah, because we kept asking Joe. It's like, Joe, what happens if we kill something here? How do we get it out? And it's like, no, there's a way that we can.
Yeah. So in all actuality, now if in hindsight, if we would have killed it, we should have come out exactly like how we went in. But the plan was to go downhill to take this road. So we ended up exploring that possibility after he missed.
Negative.
And had the worst. Oh my God. The blowdown from where we were to trying to get to the bottom took hours. It was extremely dangerous.
Tell us what you said to the good Lord, Joe. Tell us what you said.
Well, he hasn't realized. He realized it when he was in the middle of the wall going down.
You heard from God.
I did.
You did.
He can't. I was like, thank you, Lord, man, because he spoke to me that day.
You said, why?
Why am I in the middle? Yeah, I was like, I'm all in the middle of this deadfall. Lord, why have you forsaken me? And this voice, it got kind of, a little bit surreal. Cloudy. Everything started to happen. And all of a sudden I heard this voice say, who do you think smacked that elk?
So we didn't have to endure that.
Oh man, because if he would
it would have been impossible.
If he would have shot that elk and we would have started down that way with it, oh my God, it would have been horrible.
Somebody got hurt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. We ended up in the middle, and I don't know how we ended up in the middle of it. And then we're like, okay, well, let's try this other route. And so we tried the road, and there was a section of it that finally cleared up because of the angle of it, and you're feeling good. And then we end up on,
when we turn,
I don't know, probably a 50 to 60 degree slope.
Yeah, no, he's not exaggerating.
No doubt.
I know.
No,
I know. We've been there.
We hit the trees, and I go,
legend, and I've been there.
Manano, who loves people dearly,
yes,
looked at all of us and said, every man for themselves.
I'm out. Yes, I'm out.
I'm out. I'm going my way.
Going my way.
No, he goes like, okay, let's go this way. Joe, I'm going down.
He says, guys, because we looked forward, and it was disheartening. You looked at it and you're like, how in the heck? Yeah. And are we going to go all the way back? What are we going to do? And Manano goes, we're going down. So
you become so afraid of getting hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so easy to do. Actually, I was afraid. We split it. Yeah. So Joe and Luis got to the right. I go to the left because I got like a little highway for deer.
Trail.
So trail. So it just disappeared like 20 yards afterward. So
afterward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got in the middle, and it caught my attention that you go, you know, you continue to go down. Hey, there is a creek, and you walk like 200 yards. Then there is a creek.
The volume doesn't change.
Yeah,
the volume of the water running is still the same.
And I kept, ranging 450 yards.
Yeah.
350 yards. Man, it was like
we've had
never
climbs
ends.
like that. Huh?
Yeah.
Gilbert and I had a downhill climb like that.
Oh gosh.
And you would.
How far do you reckon, Joe? We went like
1,000 feet.
Oh yeah,
800 feet.
At least 1,000.
And there was a point where we were, because of the yards there, we were like 1,500 feet.
Yeah.
Up there and in that slope.
Sure.
And you find yourself. It's not only trying to find a route, but you're trying to find a route now
with
over
blowdowns.
blowdowns, right?
That's right.
So I find
dangerous.
myself grabbing stuff so I didn't end up 300 foot down the hill rolling,
Right.
I tell you another thing.
And what was funny was, dude, it was the last 3 feet before I stepped on the creek bed that I almost killed myself.
that last 3 foot.
It's that last 3 foot, man.
The legend and I, our first day, we come down a ridge, and thank God we had walking sticks, man. That's another thing in this country up here. Those sticks make a huge difference when you're coming downhill and uphill, and then having the bow hitch where you can have both hands free and do what you need to do. RC and I had sticks that day, and man, we bailed off the side of this mountain.
Cody, right?
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, the first day, I got hurt, and I had sticks. I had my bow on my pack, and I still got hurt.
Yeah, we made about a 10-mile hike that day, and 5 miles in and 5 miles back, and we bailed off the top of this ridge because of the blowdowns were so bad. I never went that steep down, and I'm telling you, I couldn't have done it without the sticks, because it's dangerous. I mean, once you get this going downhill, ain't much going to stop it, son, till you get to the bottom.
Talk about a heavy arrow. There's momentum
Talk about
coming.
a heavy arrow. There's some FOC right here,
some
baby.
momentum coming your way.
So, I mean, navigating that stuff has been the challenge for all of us, and that being so close. I mean, Luis has a very close counter. Joe has a very good conversation with our good Lord and Savior, and he told you, who do you think stopped that elk from getting killed and y'all having to go through what you got to go through,
It would have been a dramatic situation to where, we probably wouldn't have been able to get that animal out of there.
No, yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
And those animals actually responded. They actually responded to you. The bulls have been pretty lethargic. I mean, Knox and I, the legend over there, we had a scenario in an evening where we changed country. It was the first time RC and I changed country from up here in the high country, drove an hour to a place that RC knew and had some knowledge of, hadn't hunted it before, so we dive in there, and that evening we show up, we run into the wind, hop a few ridges, turn into the wind, get up there, and I start calling and put him up in front, and I mean, it's getting late, and all of a sudden, man, we hear a, that's it.
That's it, yeah.
That's it. And I looked at him and I said, did you hear that? And he goes, I don't think so. I said, I heard a bull grunt at us. He said, well, let's get set up. So we set him up in the front. To my right side, I set up down below. It's starting to get low light, and sure enough, man, I imitated that, like that, and man, that you could hear the rocks clinking. You could hear him coming. His antlers hitting the cedars coming through, and I'm like, oh my God, this is fixing to happen. Here we go, man. Every one of us that's sitting here lives for that moment, right? This is why we do this, why we endure the pain and the anguish and the agony of defeat at times to get to that moment, right?
Even enjoyed.
Yes, and here it comes, right? So RC and I are ready in that moment, and it wasn't that bull's day to die either. We got a little gust from the gods, and he just went totally silent. Well, as the light starts fading, I've learned something over the years of doing this is don't try to push it. You know, if we blow that bull out of there, we ain't got him to hunt anymore. So when he kind of went quiet, it got so dark I couldn't see my pins. RC really couldn't see the bull. We couldn't make him out down there in that ridge. So we just bailed out, right? Left him where he was at, and we bailed out silent, didn't say a word to one another until we went back down the mountain. But that was an encounter, right? Yeah. We knew that the bull was in there. We didn't want to blow him out of there, so we just backed out, you know, left him alone, didn't push the issue, didn't dive off on him because it was getting too low light, you know. He had kind of had the advantage with the wind, so we figured we endeavor to persevere the next day. And as Chad talks about, the next day, Joe comes with us, right? And Chad set it up perfectly, you know, talk about the encounter that Joe and I had. Knox decides he's going to go out on his own, and he's got his own story to tell that day as well. Joe and I get together, and look, I've hunted with this cat for 13 years, right? And when I'm with him, the confidence level is through the friggin' roof. Not only do I know I got to have my A game together, physically, mentally, the whole 9 yards, because this guy demands a lot out of you when you're with him, right? And I feel that. I feel that.
Everybody's laughing.
Well, maybe nobody else will say it, but I will, because he's my coach and has been for 13 years. And I feel a certain type of way when I'm with him to give him that due respect.
Deliver.
Yeah, and deliver, right? And I'm not tooting my own horn, but 99% of the time when he does his job, I deliver, right? And we got into a scenario that morning where we put eyes on a bull immediately that was 1,000 yards away, right? And we glassed him. We said, man, is there any way we're going to be able to beat these rascals to the top? And if y'all knew me 10 years ago, y'all have known I wouldn't have made it halfway across that field. But because of the work that this guy's helped me with and instilled with me, and the confidence that he's instilled in me, he put his hand on his hip and he said, let's go. So we got in a little traverse that hit us where the elk couldn't see us. He listened to me 2 times when we talked about the wind and using cover to make our approach, and he was gracious in that. He didn't have to listen to me. Joe, when Joe gets in one mode, he's going, right? But he heard what I said. We did make an adjustment and got to cover, and look, we snuck right in there. We went from 800, 600, 350, 220, 225, and those bulls and cows are headed up above us, right? We let them get up there, and then we took off and skirted around in front of them. Joe had a great plan. We had the wind in our face. One thing that helped me out was it's all lava rocks up on the side of that mountain. So Joe can't go real fast, right? So for me, that's a good thing, right? I can put it in 4-wheel drive, and I can ride.
Have one speed.
One speed, slow and 4-wheel drive. But I can put it in 4-wheel drive and get in there with him. And I'm telling you, it's a win for me because we got in front of that herd. Mm-hmm. We got in front of them and beat them to their destination. So we get in front of him, and he sets up a scenario that I videotaped quite a bit, and you'll get to see. Hopefully he'll put it in right here. He sets up this calling that's just extraordinary. I mean, a couple of times he bugled back there, and I thought the bull was coming in, you know. So that's how good it was. So it didn't work out. We probably sat there 30 minutes, huh, Joe?
Yeah,
25, 30 minutes. Yeah. So we're in that set 25, 30 minutes, and he's worried they're getting further away above us, right? So we take off in the same direction. We ease around there, get around there, and
I did some raking. And stuff there.
He did some raking, and even in that first scenario, he did some raking.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So what made you think that they were going ahead? Did you hear something? Did you smell something?
We saw their trajectory.
You just kind of more of a feeling.
We were approaching.
Into the wind.
We were, because they're going across and they hit like a ridge top that's going up. So you know that they're going to drop into a little bit of a depression in there, right? So I really thought that, and that wasn't a real deep depression before it went up on the other side. What I didn't know was I think they actually were starting to top out on the other side, but when I did the scenario, I think I turned them.
Okay.
Turn the cows.
Yeah, I turned the cows, and the bull was following. And then when we got up on the top of the ridge, after we just kind of started to break in, I did a little bit more there to see, because I really thought, because that was a deep in area, I thought and it was thick and it was cooler, I thought they might be in there. Well, they were. And the thing was, though, is as I started doing my raking and I looked down, I catch cows. I can see them down below. I look over at Gilbert, and Gilbert's putting an arrow on. And I'm like, he sees something, right? So I know that he's got something in front of him. So I'm trying to pay attention to what he's doing, but I'm looking down, and now it's not just cows. There is a calf coming straight up to me up the hill. And here's the thing about what we do in this business, right? Is I'm in my head, I'm going, do I film? Do I put an arrow on? Do I film? Do I put an arrow on? You know, I'm like, because I know things are getting ready to happen with Gilbert, and I wanted to get that to happen. But this calf, next thing I know, this calf is 12 yards, 10 yards, 5 yards, 2 feet. This calf comes up to me 2 feet, and right behind the calf is a big cow, right, coming up. And I had knocked an arrow. At that point, I decided, okay, I'm going to knock an arrow as it's coming up. But I'm just standing there, and I'm looking at Gilbert, and I'm seeing him trying to edge, and I can see him trying to find a spot, so I know he's got a critter in front of him. What it is, I couldn't tell. It's so thick in there that I couldn't tell. This calf comes up 2 feet from me, stops and looks at me, man, and then all of a sudden catches my wind and just blew up everything.
Yeah, and Joe's winds are bad.
I certified it. I certified that.
They're kind of like, what was that smell? But with Joe, it's like, boom.
I can attest to it.
Again, man, we're in this scenario, Joe's raking and everything, and I hear a whoop. That's it. Whoop. That's all I heard. It sounded almost like a moose, man. Whoop. And then I heard clinking of rocks in those volcanic rocks, and then I heard his antlers hitting the cedar, and then I look up and I see antlers over the cedar coming. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to find a way to move, right? Because I got this in front of me, right? So I see a hole. I see the bull coming down, I see his feet walking, and I see a hole about as big as a pie plate where I could probably shoot 25 yards through there, right? And he's less than that, much less, right? He's coming down, so you got to understand the floor that we're on is all volcanic rock with cactus everywhere, okay? So it's really no place to kneel. God provided me a place to kneel down, okay? And I knelt down. There was no way I can shoot standing up. I kneel down, much like you, got 1 foot out because it's a little slope, and I'm knelt down in there, and I'm ready to draw. I need that bull to take one step, guys. One step. 3 feet, okay? 3 feet. And I look down at Joe, and Joe's looking down, and I'm like, uh-oh, there's fixing to be something happening down below, right? Well, he's looking at the cow. And then he looked at me, and I'm just in that mode. I'm not taking my eyes off the bull. I can see his eyeball, his neck, a little bit of it, and his feet. And I'm like, oh my, and his giant antlers. Guys, I'm gonna tell you this, I've killed a lot of really nice bulls with this guy, Chav, and myself, and I'm gonna tell you, this would have been my personal best. And Manano, that's right, Manano too. Manano videotaped a really nice bull a few years ago that I killed. But this bull would have been my personal best. And I kind of know what I'm looking at when I look at him, and this bull had everything that you want. He's an older bull, really smart, had a few cows with him, and if that calf does not blow up, I'm going to tell you right now, he's coming to find Joe, because Joe's doing everything he can to present himself as another bull in there with his cows, right? So he's going to come on down and find what's going on. And when the calf blew up, the whole thing blew up. Bull spun to put his butt to, right? And I'm called to try to get him to turn around and look at me and get a different angle. Man, I'm moving in there trying to get a different angle. But as soon as that cow busted out with the calf, then the bull dove off down there with them, and they all ran up the other side. And Joe, so smart, man, he goes to straight regathering. Yeah. And I mean, he's straight regathering, runs up the side of the mountain. I push forward to get down to where I can see him, and then nothing's going on, so he bails back off and comes down there with me, and I hear something else coming. Well, he actually, with that regathering mute, calls the calf back in, and she's there, and then she catches our wind and shoots out of there again. But we are so, I mean, literally, guys, this much, and I arrow the biggest bull I've ever arrowed in my life, you know. And to spend time like that with my brother Joe, we haven't hunted as much together in the past because he's a caller, and he's produced a caller who loves to call and who loves to hunt with everybody. So having the special time to get to hunt with him, this is the first time we hunted together in, I don't know, what, 2 years, Joe? That we've actually, we've actually gone on a set. And then the legend allowed us to go do that, and he went off on his own mission that morning, and I'm gonna go ahead, Bubba.
One thing I want to, because what Cody was asking, I want to give it a little bit there in that originally in the morning I had already introduced a bull into that area. So right before we saw that bull there, I had already bugled off, right? So then they're over there and they start to move up. So there's already a bull that's been introduced in the area. So now I see them top out and we've lost their vision, and we start to try to really parallel hard and get up there with them. Because of the rocks and the way the situation was, I knew that we couldn't make that kind of racket without it being related. So I didn't want to give away that we were there, but we had to because of the noise. So I started cow calling and doing a little bit of like
huffing and
doing a little bit of huffing and little small chuckles. Just nothing to show that that I'm a big bull or anything, but just something to get that idea in the head, and so that they would relax from us coming up. Now, it's still taking a chance doing the huffs, but it does when you're huffing and when you're sounding like a bull tending your own cow, it's not a threat to the other bull that has cows, right? Because you're not engaging him.
You're inviting the cows.
It's more like I'm doing my thing, and cows hear, oh, there's a bull with some other cows, and they might become interested.
Yeah, and we knew if we pulled his cows, we'd pull him. And that's kind of in secondary to what we were thinking. We just really wanted them to understand there's some more elk in the area. And we don't want them spooked because we're crashing and cracking and falling down and stuff, like getting stuck with thorns and stuff like that.
So just like I asked you this morning, you were calling real soft at the beginning. I think you ought to explain like chuckling. So I noticed like Luis, when he was chuckling, it's not that high pitched, like real aggressive kind of sound. It's more of a inviting.
Exactly.
It's soft.
It's almost a real passive. I'm a bull and I'm here, and it's just I'm not here. I'm not interested in scrapping with anybody. I'm just letting other elk know I'm here. It's an invitation, basically. If you want to come over here, any other bulls that you want to partner up, come on over here. Cows, whatever, right? So, it's not with the emotion and then like the hard grunt scream chuckles, right?
Right.
You know what I'm talking
about. It's at the end of a bugle. It's at the end of a bugle. You notice today I chuckled a lot more than I ever bugled, right? Just something real light.
And it was soft.
Yeah.
And it wasn't aggressive.
Right.
And it's
these bulls aren't aggressive.
Just listening to it, just from a person standing away, it doesn't sound intimidating.
Right. Well, it's not designed to.
Yeah,
because they're not intimidating you.
You listen to people on I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and I've done a lot of different research, and somebody will say, all right, this is what a chuckle is.
Yeah.
Well, what you guys were doing was polar opposite.
Depends on the emotion, the intensity, and
we can ramp that up into that chuckle that you're talking about.
Depending on the time of the year.
But it's not time yet.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
The same with the bugles. I mean,
Yeah,
the
same
bugles
way
don't
with
necessarily need to be that big bull. I mean,
Right.
especially.
I never
the
sounded
first-
like a big bull today.
No.
It was all.
And he didn't either.
Yeah.
I mean, the last 2
It was
days.
all just a location. Like this morning when we started out in the field, it was just a location broadcast, right? And then today when we were in our scenarios, it was more like, all right, I'm going to bugle just a little bit after I get done with my display.
Yeah.
Right? Not nothing hard, just,
Right.
you know, pretty much it, right?
But that's where the animals are. We have bulls not bugling right now, right?
coming
They're
inside.
not doing nothing.
That's it. I mean, you get a whoop. That's all you get. I mean, wow. And a giant 350 plus inch bull is going to come in like that. It's wild.
You know, and we talked about that. I mean, I can see a younger age bull not wanting to speak up, right?
Yeah.
Because they're they just want to keep the cows.
They don't want to get their crap beat out of them.
But what we had a mature herd bull that had cows already not speaking up, and I think that's even smarter because I think that's a bull that, generally these guys are waiting off in the wings and letting the small guys bring them together and then they do their thing, right? I think it's just these guys are like, well, I don't want to start bringing in satellites and fighting right now. I mean, I think he's just conserving energy and just
I'll keep all the herd to myself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Don't tell anybody I got all these
I think
cows.
this elk, as we as hunters have gotten better, they're evolving too. They're learning when to shut up. And, they're creatures of habit.
And it depends on the number of animals that are in the area, right? We haven't seen a whole lot of cows in the area. We think there's a whole lot of lone bulls in there, but they're of different age classes. So,
which means they're nomadic. They're going to keep moving around until they find cows.
It's been real interesting. It's been, it's so funny. I mean, this is our 40th season, Chow, and these critters are always teaching you something because they're changing, they're adapting, and
never told to learn.
Yeah.
Knox, lead us into what went on with you, brother.
Well, the thing about it was, we'd been down there the day before, and it was, I was noticing the tracks, and there was a lot of tracks, and it was like, wasn't necessarily a highway or a trail. It was just a lot of bull tracks, and they were just meandering around.
Yeah.
Just going over here and going over there and everything. And so I was like, well, okay, this may be a pretty good little ridge here. And so when we split up that morning, I looked at it and I got my sniffer out, or my wind indicator, and it was like, this is not good. I mean, I can't hunt this ridge like this. I mean, the wind is totally wrong. And I said to myself,
Legend.
You got to get on the other side of that canyon and on that other side of that ridge. And I'm going, man, that's a long ways over there. I don't really know that I want to go do that, know? And so I'm like, no, I got to go. So I finally made it over there on the other side. And it's like I said, I'm not hunting necessarily that ridge because the wind is wrong, but I'm hunting the opposite ridge because the wind is going the right direction up over there. So I'm about halfway up that ridge and going down the side, and I glance over there, and of course I'm looking at it all the time. And it's a funny thing when you do see an elk because you haven't seen any, you go, wow, that's an elk. So I mean, he's walking and he's going down that ridge, and I'm going, all right. So I took off as hard as I could, bailed off of that mountain, crossed that meadow, found me a very nice Trenache.
Trenache.
got in that little Grenache.
Shout
there.
out to Tony Cosenza with that word. The late Tony Cosenza.
But anyway, I got in that Grenache and I kind of throwed my rangefinder up and I said, all right, that's that and that's that. Of course, I'm looking on the left side. I'm thinking, yeah, okay, cool. You know, and so I got this sweet little old thing here. I tell you what, now that's the best thing there ever was. This little old pink thing.
Sugar, baby.
Sugar. Actually,
Fuchsia.
that is
It's
chartreuse.
Yeah, chartreuse. This little
Fuchsia.
Fuchsia magenta.
fuchsia.
The sugar call.
Sugar.
Oh my
Grinder by
gosh.
Sugar. Yeah.
I hit it
The
twice.
Wapiti River.
And it was like, I was hoping that I could get him turned, but I didn't realize I was going to get him turned that hard. He came off of that hill like in a dead run straight at me. And of course I was already knocked, I was ready. And I said, okay, if you go left, I got you, dude. You're, you know, no problem, because I'd already taken all the time to check my distance and stuff. And I kind of looked at the right and I went, oh, hope we don't go that way. So, nevertheless, he decided to go right, and he's got his head down on the ground and he's at a dead run, and he's going, meow, 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 and he's smelling the ground, looking for cows. And so so he goes right, and he gets about halfway, so I go to full draw, and I thought, well, I'll wait until he can, I mean, you know, all I got to do is bugle or let out another mew, and he's going to put the brakes on. Well, he goes around there, and he gets to where my trail had come up, where I had walked up, and it was like, oh, what's that? You know, all of a sudden he just stops, and I'm going, come on.
Full draw.
All you need to do is take one more step.
One more step.
One more step, dude. Come on. One more
Spend the
step.
one more step,
I know
huh?
what you're smelling and stuff, but one more step, please.
It's
You know?
not as bad as Joe or Beto. It's-
Yeah. No.
That smell is
So
not that
he-
bad.
Depends on who you ask.
He turns, of course, you know, he smells that scent and everything else, and he whirls, and he's leaving the world, and I called him back. Of course, I had let off, and I called him back, and here he comes, and so I draw it again, and of course, guess where he is? He's in the thickest stuff there is.
On the right.
And I trying to find a little hole somewhere in there that I can sneak an arrow in, and there's no way, and he finally just
Boogered out. Yeah.
But that's why we call it the one-step hunt.
Yeah.
So far.
One more step.
Now,
Yeah.
tomorrow it's going to be a different story, but
So I also want you mentioned the sugar, and actually what that is that's our prototype. We've been working with Travis. We already have the grinder out,
Yes.
and
The
one thing I
grinder's
told
killed it
Grinder
this
was
week.
I wanted a pair. We have the grinder that, it's our basically it's a bugler that breaks in great to doing cow calls.
Yes.
But we
Fantastic.
wanted something that right out of the box would give a real sweet cow call. And you don't have to use a lot of pressure with it. I mean, it's just so soft, and in
It's
fact,
absolutely phenomenal.
and I wanted a cow call so sweet that we were going to call it sugar. So
it is.
And let me tell you what, it has
That's as light as you can get.
it'll be
So
quiet,
good.
light, coming out of the box. Everybody that's grabbed it has really.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love the ability to, like you said,
Burn
right
it up in
off
4 days.
right off the pack, just with slight differences in pressure
Yeah.
of your tongue,
Oh, yeah.
you can achieve from a mature cow to a very
Calf.
small calf.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it has that range of variability that
You can
Right.
still
I
get
really
pretty loud.
like.
You can still get pretty loud with it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Oh man,
yeah,
really?
Man,
yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
I can push
Really
my lips
powerful.
together really hard and barely push any air out of it. And man, it sounds just like the faintest little calf, like that, like RC was just doing right
But
there.
if you start cranking some bugles on it, it's
Yeah.
not going
It's not going to last.
No.
Yeah.
And look, I'm the world's worst at wanting to stay with the same thing. And so Travis O'Shea, our buddy's been killing it up in Canada, calling bulls in, knocking them down. We can't thank you enough for Sugar and for the grinder, man.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
so we know the form factor. All of us have used it on this hunt. We know what we want. We like the way it sounds. So that'll be being produced this next year. So
Joe, I got to give a shout out to our boy Mark Carlson as well.
Mark Carlton.
Yeah. With the Rip It 1.5, I've been working on the Rip It 1.5. Joe and I had a little bugle off here.
I love the Rip It, man.
Yeah, the other evening, he comes walking out of the woods. We just decided we're going to dual bugles, and it was a lot of fun. But that call it's exceptional. You got to rip a bunch of bugles on it to get it kind of softened up for the cow call part. But man, once you get it really, really turned up, it's an awesome call. And then I've been using the Dirty Deuce as well. And
Dirty
look, Mark, we can't thank you enough for supporting us here at Elk Bros,
Absolutely.
sending us some calls. We put them to work this week, and they've worked flawless.
Yeah, and
There's the other call that he sent us.
yeah,
It's
he said
green weenie.
the greeny weenie. But
Yeah.
let me tell you, what's so cool about that is right now, Native by Carlton calls is going through a revamp, and when we get home from this hunt, before our next hunt, we'll have some of the newer frames and the newer calls that he is now making.
Can't wait to put
and we're
yeah.
excited about that
Yeah.
for Mark, man. And
Heck yeah.
he does a stretch on his that really gives a nice high pitch.
Does.
I mean it's a high pitch stretch, and man, I'm telling you, that Rip It 1.5. Oh
I
my
love it.
God, man!
I
it's just-
absolutely. It's what I was blowing today when we were doing our stuff, and I oscillate between that and the grinder, and
And look, I'm going to give everybody. Look, I used also today when you guys were with me today, and you could hear those different calls. I was
Right.
actually using the Phelps.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was their Pitch Black number 2.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites out there. I like calls that are like that. I love our grinder for what it does, but I like to rotate the calls and do different sounds. And we have some exceptional call makers out there.
We do.
And if you learn to work those latexes, you can work any latex.
Right.
So we actually got those calls for Hunt Wars because that's getting ready to start. So they sent some in there, and man, heck yeah, I love to use their calls when available there. But let me tell you, Mark, dude, man, I'm so excited for what you guys are getting ready to
All
put
of us
out
here are.
because he has a lot of passion, and I really want to see Native by Carlton. We've wanted to love that company, man. And there was some things with some of the stuff with the tape that he's changing with the top. He's going to domes now. He's doing some different really cool things with the frames. Look, y'all, get ready.
We had him on the podcast.
Yeah.
He was awesome on the podcast.
Yeah.
He was like, look, we're going to send y'all some calls. Hey, look, that guy runs a business. So I ordered my own calls, and from him, because I knew he was going to send some to Joe, I wanted to practice with him before I got to camp and everything. Appreciate you guys getting them out as fast as you did. I got my order in, got my calls back within 2 or 3 days, and so appreciate you guys. Joe, I want to talk about another one of our grinders out there that has done something real special for our group, and that's Mr. Henry. Building us some really custom knives, right? Travis Henry, is that correct?
Tracy
Henry.
Henry.
Yeah. Tracy
Yeah.
Henry.
Yeah, so Tracy is an incredible human being, number one, and he has made custom knives for
all of us.
For all the bros here, right?
Told him I was gonna have
Yeah.
him in my pack.
Yeah. And I mean, they are built for tough.
Absolutely, bro.
They are incredible steel. And when he found out that we had a giveaway winner he wanted to make sure that giveaway winner, Cody, had
one of his knives.
Knives, man. So we were able to gift you that knife.
Yeah, I'm just blown away. I mean, the craftsmanship, and this thing is smoking sharp.
Yeah,
sharp.
Man, he sent me mine, and it is, I mean, out of the package shave you, and that doesn't happen a lot. So Tracy, we can't thank you enough, man. We said that we're gonna have you on the podcast. Joe and I'll make that happen. But the thing that you've done for us, as far as giving our winners knives, our Elk Bros knives, I mean, it's been phenomenal, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
many
Tracy.
blessings to you and your family.
So much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so this has been, we still have one more day tomorrow, so it's getting late, y'all.
There's one more step
Today.
One more step.
One more step.
Yeah, today we got a close encounter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We better talk. We'll close with that step, Joe. So you and the Mafia got in it again. Cody and I went and did our thing today. Got to spend some special time with Cody, and I hadn't got to hunt with him. So today we got to hunt together. He's a special guy, man, and a really good hunter, really smart young man. And I got to. You know, he's very questioning. He asks a lot of questions, and that, for me, being a coach and stuff like that, I hope he got something out of our hunt today and understood that we're just regular guys that love what we do, you know, and we promote that side of it, you know. So thank you so much for your kindness and hospitality today. And,
thank you,
and I
guys.
appreciate you enduring. I'm a passionate guy, and I believe an elk's around every corner, and I set up that way.
As you should.
But it was a fun hunt for sure. And although we didn't get to harvest anything or see an elk today, man, it was a lot of fun sharing the woods with you, brother.
Man, I've learned so much from each one of you guys.
Yeah,
and,
we appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys actually sharing
Goes both
that.
ways.
Yeah.
So
we'll turn it over
and
to.
not only that, I mean, I've had a heck of a good time just hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, we
like I told
appreciate
you,
that.
like when I first got on your podcast, I was like, you guys are who you are. And you guys are a lot of fun to hunt with. I just hope that I get invited back. I mean, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. We appreciate it, brother.
Thank you so much.
Joe, lead us into what went on today, brother.
So, you know, today me and the Mafia were going to go out together. We have that opportunity. And after the last time I took him out, I thought I'd take it easy on him.
Poor guys.
Yeah. So we went out and into some of that lower ugly country, and I love it because it looks like some of the country that I really like to hunt. And we just worked it, you know, as we were going. I'm using cow chumming as I'm going. We found a level, and we knew that these bulls were coming from one area to another, so we decided to get on the northeast side of a ridge and work that where we seen a ton of track.
We got a good wind.
Had a real good wind for moving in it, and
today was great.
And so we were going through, and long story short, you know, as I'm doing the calling, I'm taking a step, and I hear Joe. And he got so excited, Manano, you know, because I heard the first Joe stop. But
he doesn't know. He doesn't know if you heard.
But
that's always.
But he, you know, he was like Joe, and he goes 25. Oh.
Yeah, because he was in front of me, and I thought, okay, Joe's ready to kill this sucker. So
the way we were though, the way I'm on the left, he's on the right. He's seeing the bull, and I've got a bush in front of me.
Yeah.
Nothing. I can't even see the bull. So I'm like,
yeah.
I'm trying to see the bull. I'm like, where in the heck is this bull?
Yeah.
And so I see Manano. We both knocked an arrow at the same time. As soon as he said bull, I'm knocking an arrow, right? But I don't see the bull. He does. So I just kind of move to the side, let him move forward.
Yeah.
And when he moves, the bull comes forward, and now I see him. But he's antsy because he sees Manano, and he turns to go away, and I made some calls again. He turns and comes back, and he shows himself broadside one way, then he turns and shows himself broadside the other way, then he turns back. It's like I mean, and Manano is at full draw. And he's just looking for a window. He needed
one more step.
One more step.
You will see it in the video.
One more step.
Camera B made a good video.
You'll see the video right
You'll
here.
see the video. It's a close encounter.
Yeah. So it was really awesome, and he had the case of the Verlaques, and he got really excited and actually went off and almost got on the bull again. But I mean, it's a typical that was the typical scenario that we usually see this time of year. We're working thick stuff, we're cow chumming, we're calling,
they're silent,
and they come in silent, and you try to catch them and get a shot on it, and that okay, so there have been plenty of situations. I've called in bulls now for 3 guys, and it's all been, well, you got a shot off, right? Everybody else has been one more step, so we're hoping that tomorrow Cody and I are going to head out. Hopefully we can get Chav in there by the wallow again. Chav has every day, he's been putting himself in the 4-wheeler or in the T-Rex and taking off, packing in his stuff, getting in all the way into,
it's a 2-mile hike, bro.
It's like, isn't it a beautiful spot, man?
Yeah, I think under normal conditions that would be golden.
Yeah.
But this year just nothing showed up.
Yeah. So I mean, I keep texting him. He's like, "Nope, nothing's happening." That's how it is. So tomorrow, y'all, you'll hear about tomorrow in the next podcast, and we're going to chew over all of this that we've had. It's been a great hunt. It's been a hard hunt. I think that's what's made it so great.
Yeah. Really. I've said this 1,000 times. It's the hard that makes it great, Joe.
Yeah. It's
why I'm so emotional every time we take one. I get emotional every time I've ever taken an animal. I shed a tear. Even the other day when Joe and we needed one more step. I mean, I was super emotional because you just work so hard, man.
Yeah.
You work so hard to put yourself in that position, and when it don't go right, man, it's like somebody stole your rattle.
And a week from now, we have our Elk Bros Adventures crew coming in with our coaches, and they're going to be on their hunt. So
for our listeners that don't know,
2 weeks.
For our listeners that don't know, Joe and the crew, we've created outdoor Elk Bros Adventures, and so we are now a registered licensed outfitter in New Mexico.
Yeah.
So
not wanting to outfit.
Not wanting to outfit. We're actually bringing some. Joe's, putting together some really good data and some really good things for where we're going to really turn the industry in a direction that's different, right? We're all coaches sitting here, Mr. Knox, myself, Joe, the Mafia. We're all coaches in our own right. Chav, has coached at various levels for his whole life. So we want to bring guys in camp like Mr. Cody and the new guys that are coming in that'll be with us in camp in 2 weeks, and we want to help them get better at doing it themselves, right, Joe?
Yep, that's it.
And that's our goal. It's a do-it-yourself type of thing.
Yep.
We're not guides. We will be there to help you and be on your hip with you as well, but we definitely are your elk hunting coaches.
And we've been with them already for 2 months through a lot of training and stuff over Zoom and communication. So I'm excited. As tough as this has been, by the time these guys get here, we're hoping that things are a little bit more vocal for them, and they're excited. So we're going to get after it.
You've actually been through all of the sessions with us. Can you speak to that and how well you feel like it prepared you for when you got here?
Yeah. So I was always just checking my the WhatsApp. We were all talking together, and every day I'm like, "What do you mean we're not having one tonight?" I'm like, I was living for it because that's what I'm hungry for the information. And every time I got on, I learned so much. Joe, you saw me. I'm writing it down. I'm like, this is good stuff. I'm writing it down.
I'll watch you for sure.
So. I would tell you that from the very beginning and going through the Zoom calls and talking with you guys, my confidence just grew every single time, and it wasn't I would learn new things, but it was also kind of you guys would talk about something, an experience that I had,
Right.
a failure that I had,
Right.
and then be able to talk through why.
Yeah.
And then it would, lights would go off, and I'd be like, okay, all right, now I understand what I did, what I should do going forward. And, coming out here and hunting with you guys, honestly, because of all of the Zoom and all the preparation, I wasn't intimidated, even though you guys are, you're famous, right?
Oh man, yeah, maybe in our own minds. No, man, we ain't famous.
More infamous.
Infamous.
Yeah,
Okay.
infamous,
All right. Well, we can go with
sure.
that. But no, I really, the confidence that it gave me, and then spending the week with you guys.
Yeah.
My confidence is through the roof. I've got another tag in Colorado, and I'm just like pumped up. It's been tough this week, and I haven't harvested one yet.
Yeah.
But we're not done.
No, we're not done. We got
Definitely
24
not done.
hours left. The next time, our next hunt, we're gonna have another elk hunting coach in here with us. The pimp in the box, the man from Colorado. You guys know him as the host and owner of the Western Contours podcast. Mr. Guy Duplanche will be in camp with us. I can't wait to chop it up with the man with the golden voice. It's going to be epic.
Yeah.
Joe.
We'll gotta lower our voices.
Yeah, we're going to have to get like Wolfman Jack.
Wolfman
Jack
Yeah.
voices.
So we love Guy. Can't wait to have him in camp with us. I'm gonna get my truck put back together sometime. I have to take old Whitey back to Texas. It has been an absolute awesome podcast, guys. Really great content. It's been an honor to share the mountain with all of my bros and Cody and his dad. I tell you one thing, this never gets old, Joe. I tell everybody, it's like heaven when you get here, and it's hell because you got to leave.
Yeah.
But
we work for it all year, man.
you know what? If you want any of your questions answered on our show, please go to info@elkbros.com. That's info@elkbros.com. And like we say in the Lone Star State, wives, kiss your husbands. Husbands, kiss your wives. Hug your babies. Keep your broadhead sharp and your powder dry. And we'll see you next week right here on Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
And a special treat for you from our cook. This is his music. This is him and his family singing. We're going to play this for you from some of his tunes he's recorded. We'll see you guys.
From Big Toco. Peace.
Peace.